Hello, everybody. How are you? What's the word, all seven of you? Hey, Colonel Toad. Barbara, welcome back. Welcome back, my friend. What time is it there, Barbara? Is it 4 a.m? Hi, Grace. Hello, Sister Allegra. Georgie, thank you for being here. Pineapple Coffee, what would you have done with your life if you'd missed my amazing stream? What would you have done? The pillars, the foundation of life would have crumbled. All of reality would have tumbled into the sea. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Elle. Oh, it's 9 p.m. Okay, good. That's a much more reasonable time for you to be on a live stream with me. Well, what are we going to talk about today, everyone? I thought we would talk about making movies. Let's talk about making movies. I've been making movies. Hi, Vane. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hi, Angie. Welcome. So thanks for stopping by. Nikita, good to see you. Hello. So I've been making movies my entire life. That's a lie. I have not been making movies my entire life. I have been making movies since I was 15. And my parents bought me a video camera. Hi, Vicky. Let's talk about making movies, and you can ask me anything you want about them, or about making movies, or about what movies I've been in, or what movies I've made. But I was just sort of saying, my parents got me a video camera when I was 14 or 15, a Panasonic video camera, and these things were massive, bulky things. I mean, they were giant things, and they had to be plugged into a VCR that you literally slung around your shoulder and carried in this big, heavy pack, and you go around. And I would make movies with my sister. And the way we would edit the movies is I would shoot the footage on the video camera, and then I would go into my house where my parents incredibly had two VCRs, the one that was in my bag and the one that they used in their house to play videotapes. And I figured out how to run the outputs of one VCR into the inputs of the other. And I would edit my movies on the VCRs, playing on one and recording on the other. And that was how I sort of started to figure out how to cut pieces of footage together to tell a story. And I started to realize that I didn't actually have to. I think my first few movies that I made with the camera, I shot them in sequence. I went, well, if they leave the house and go out in the yard, we have to shoot them, leave the house, and then I go and I shoot them leaving the yard, as opposed to, you can shoot it wherever, and then you can take the footage and put it together and piece it together and make it into a story. I'm not going to go into a whole lot about all the other movies that I've been in, I've acted in, or that I've directed right now. I'll just sort of wait and see if any of it comes out through answering your questions, because you have always is this the camera I used in NYC with the poets? That's a great question, Mariana. No, it is not. We found another video camera for that in the hotel at Wilmington, Delaware. Someone had that video camera and we borrowed it. So, yes, Allegra, you were in those movies. Sofa, hey, Sofa. Okay, so I'm going to start writing down your questions. You've always brought me such great questions to think about and talk about in these streams. So I'm just going to say, if you came here with a question in mind, something you want to hear from me about tonight, feel free to throw it up there, and I will get to as many as I can. And the first one I see is tips on finding people to produce or advertise your scripts or movies. From Vicky. Allegra, such visceral memories of the whole experience and then dubbing music over it all. Yeah, I figured out how to dub music through the VCR and it was too much. Colonel Toad, I want to be a filmmaker, so that could be useful. What could be useful? What could be useful? Hi, Go Trig Boy. Good to see you, Grace. Do you think watching other short films help develop other ideas? Barbara, my major influences. When I first started out, what were my major influences when I first started out? Advice for young directors. Can everyone hear me okay? We all right? Okay. Is it important to have top equipment when you start? Tips for finding locations to film at, such as how to contact people, find locations. Wow. What's the most difficult part? Hey, Vane. I don't know if I've met you. Thanks for being here. What's the most difficult part? You all make me think so much about my life and about what I've chosen to do with it with these questions, I swear. I don't think about these questions on a daily basis. I take so many of them for granted. It's so great to I make fake newscasts with my siblings in it so much. Yes, good. That sounds fantastic. Hey, Phil, are films still shot on film stock or is it all digital? I'm guilty of forcing my brother to be part of my mini movies. I'm so proud of you, Sophia. Make him do it more. Just keep on roping him in. You have to help me with this. I have to make this. That's how you get people to do it. What's my favorite film that I've made? That to me sounds like an opportunity for a little self-promotion where I talk about my greatest accomplishment. No, I'll try and be honest about that. Charlotte, good evening from Spain. Hello. Or which am I most proud of? Okay, gotcha, Grace. Allegra, what attitude towards filmmaking did you have when you were 15 that you would tell new filmmakers to embrace even if they're starting later in life? Okay. How much camera and angle talk do you need to know to be successful in filmmaking? What's the most gratifying part or your favorite part of the filmmaking process from Barbara? Some of your favorite movies of all time? Do you get nervous when filming scenes? If so, do you have any advice on how you stay calm? From Angie. In a good way, I hope. Grace. Yes. And how many will people not take you seriously as a filmmaker if you're too young? Colonel Toad, do you have any tricks on how to find inspiration for the story of your film? Yesterday, I stared at a blank page all night trying to find ideas. Whew, all been there. Pineapple coffee. May I ask twice, is storyboarding an essential or useful step? I'll do 2 or 3 more here before I go back, or we'll be here all night. Won't we? I don't want to do that to y'all. How much harder do you think it is to become a filmmaker now than back in the 80s and such? Any good editing softwares you'd recommend for editing movies? Okay. And how can you be confident in front of a camera? I like filming, but being filmed freaks me out. How to get over the fear of judgment from others. All right, I'm going to stop there. Okay. Tip for finding people to produce or advertise your scripts or movies. Okay, so I think I talked about this a little bit last week, that what I'm encouraging everyone, just got your Dead Poet Society book that you ordered. Well, congratulations, Angie. I hope it's good. I hope it made you happy to get it. I hope it's good. I advise potential filmmakers to, first of all, no one's going to advertise your movie for you when you start out. If you are trying to break into the business, the person you are looking to try and ally with to break you into the business and get you agency representation is a manager. And you can find the names of independent or small to mid-sized management companies or managers to submit your materials to. Those are the people you are trying to get to, and you're trying to become your allies. Agents is a whole sort of different ball of wax, and they're a lot more difficult to get your hands around. As far as getting people to, if you have a specific movie that you want to make, it's about creating allyships with other people who can do the work on the movies and want to get behind the work as much as you do. And that's where a script really comes in handy, because you can say, will you help me? Will you produce my movie? And they'll say, what movie? And you'll say, this movie. So the script is kind of becomes the calling card to start building a circle of support around a project, around a movie. And you really want to focus on, if you're a filmmaker, rather than advertising it, which is, studios spend tens of millions of dollars advertising movies. Don't worry about that. Make a great film and get it submitted to some film festivals. And the film festival will advertise your movie for you once you've been accepted. Okay. Will watching other short films help you with ideas? Absolutely. Absolutely. A great place to start in looking for, if you're saying, I want to make a short film, but what do short films really look like? And why, what makes a good short film? Just check out the Oscar nominees for best short films for the past 5 years. If you really are just going, huh, I don't know what, the problem with our society and with our cinematic culture is we don't watch short films. I don't watch short films very often. They're hard to find. They're not something that you click on Netflix and go, oh, I'm going to watch this short movie. You see them a lot at film festivals. So if you go to your local film festival, there will always be a big short film category, and you can see a lot of them. Okay. But if you want if you want to sort of load up on 10, 20, 30, 40 short films and just say, just show me some short films that are good, go to the Oscar nominees. Just cheat. There are 5 or 6 or 10 Oscar nominees for best short film every year. So for the past 5 years, there have been 50. They're from all over the world. Okay. That's the other benefit, is that a lot of them are from, and they're in a bunch of different languages from a bunch of different parts of the world. So there's a real diversity of storytelling prowess and storytelling, scope, characters, places you've never seen before. Those selections that the Oscar committee, and I'm not a huge Oscar guy. I don't want, I'm not really invested in the Oscars all that much, but that list of short films, whenever I do pick one off of there and find it, you can find them. You can find them online. You can find them where, on one of these streaming services. When I do watch them, I'm always impressed, because they're the best of the best. I mean, to get nominated for an Academy Award as a short film, it's got to be really good, or something really different or unique, or you've never seen it before. So that's where I'd recommend to go to look for good short films to inspire you. Barbara, major influences when I first started out. So here's my confession for you all about kind of where my cinematic life started. My cinematic life started filmmaking. What is film and what can it do to people? It started when I was 6, and my father's parents said to my parents, we would like to take Dylan to go see Star Wars in 1977. And I didn't know what that was, and neither did my parents. But they said, it's going to be appropriate for children his age, but we'd like to take him. And so they came and picked me up, and I got into my grandfather's Mercedes, and we drove down to the Grauman Chinese Theater, and they walked me in there, and I'd never been in there. And it was absolutely cavernous. It was the biggest room I felt like I'd ever been in my life. And it was filled with all this ornate decoration. And the lights went down, and Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope started up, which, as you know, starts with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the ba-bam, and the words start scrolling away, and I could read at that point, and I was like, what is going on? And it scrolled away, and then the music swelled, and the camera pulled down through space, and then overhead this starship came racing and shooting red lasers, and I was like, whoa, it was massive. It was absolutely this massive moment of sound and image. And then came the Star Destroyer behind it, even bigger, firing more lasers, and it blew it up, and it took it up into the thing. I was utterly transported. I was 6, and I could not believe what was happening to me. And the next 2 hours are a blur. I went on to watch that movie 5 more times in the theaters, or 4. I took my 7th birthday party to Star Wars. And I'll never forget, at the end of Star Wars, that when we walked out from my 7th birthday party, I was so thrilled that I just shared this movie with my friends. I said, I just brought you to the coolest thing ever, right? At the Grauman Chinese again. And my friend Christine Aller, who I never let her forget this, I'm still friends with her to this day, but she said, So what happened to Obi-Wan Kenobi? And I said, well, he went into the Force. And she said, so did he go into the Force naked? And I threw an apoplectic fit. I was so upset that she had called out the fact that when Obi-Wan Kenobi disappears, his robes are on the ground. And it ruined my birthday party. No, it didn't, but I was so upset by that. So that's how invested I had sort of become in the story and in the thing. The next movie that really hit me over the head that with that much power was a movie called The Black Stallion, directed by Carol Ballard. And Carol Ballard is this really interesting figure in cinema history. He was apparently a fairly cantankerous guy. He was kind of tough to work with. He was a perfectionist. But for my money, he made a couple of just visual masterpieces, and one of them was The Black Stallion. And The Black Stallion is about a boy who survives a shipwreck. His father dies in this boat as it sinks, and he and this horse are the last survivors, and they make it to a desert island, and they become friends. And that movie just woke something else up in me as well. They get rescued and they go back to America, and I won't say any more about it, just in case you've never seen it and you want to watch it. But that movie really affected me, and I saw that movie 5 times in the theater, and I bought the soundtrack on vinyl, which I still have. I have the record of the soundtrack, the music. Both of those movies, by the way, had huge musical, just incredible scores. So there was a musical thing that was happening. There was a visual thing, sound, the sound of the horse hooves in the last race. I remembered them just shaking my chest. You know, it was huge. It was this huge experience. Barbara, also do I have any advice for young directors? I do have advice for young directors. Direct movies. Make a movie now. Start now. You can do it. Wherever you are. Hello? Hello out there on the internet. Where are you? Make a movie right where you are. There's a house across the street. It could be the haunted house of a scary movie. There's a cafe down the street that you could shoot a funny scene between you and between your 3 of your friends arguing over a coffee drink. Get a camera, grab some friends, get an idea. If you need to write it as a script, you can, or you don't have to. You can improvise it. It could just be a comedy. Shoot your friends. Don't shoot with the camera. Cut between the parts. Put it up on YouTube and show it to your parents or your friends or your aunt and uncle or the person you're in love with. Just show it to them and be like, what do you think of my film? This is where the art happens. All of the work of coming up with the idea and shooting and cutting and editing, that's all that there's a lot of technical stuff, and you'll learn that as you go, but it's gotten easier and easier. The art happens between the film playing on someone's screen and their eyeballs. The art happens between the painting and the viewer. Here's the art. The communication of the idea. It doesn't have to be for an audience of 2-3 bazillion people through the global marketplace. You understand? To get your hands on the art of it, to get your hands on what the feeling is of making a film and showing it to people. It's very simple. It's right there. You need to do that. You need to participate in that process, and then you will decide whether you like it or you don't like it. I will warn you, a lot of people don't like it. They do not like it. Yes, my advice, just do it. That's right. Hi, Capri-san. Welcome back. Words of comfort for your friend Jillian, who isn't feeling very well mentally. Just say hello. Hi, Jillian. Hang in there. I wish you peace and wellness. And I hope you're surrounded by people who love you and who you love. Get well soon, please. Phil, you saw it it was 77. Yeah. It might have been in the same row, in the same row. Anyway, a lot of people say, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to be an actor. I want to, and they make something and then they go through the process of you make it and you go, this is exciting. And then you show it to people. And the first group of people you show it to, half of them, you show it to 4 family members and 2 of them go, I don't get it. And it crushes your soul and it makes you very sad. And you just go, oh, I never am going to expose myself or make myself feel vulnerable like that again. But for some of us, maybe some people who are here, it actually you love it. You like, but what about the 2 people who did like? What'd you like about it? And what didn't you like about it? Tell me what you didn't. Why were you confused? You didn't understand why that character went over there and threw water on that other guy? Oh, well, maybe next time I need to be a little bit more clear about the fact that that guy's a jerk. And that's why she threw water on him. You'll learn. And it's a learning process. Every movie you make, you're learning more. So that's why I'm encouraging you to do it now. Start it now. Do one. And then that will be your first one. And then you can go on to your second one because you can't do the second one until you've done the first one. And if you're waiting for larger entities in your life, financiers or moneyed people or professional actors or whatever, to give you permission to make your first film, you could wait for the rest of your life. And there's no reason to do that. I know you can find the means to try. Is it important to have top equipment? I'm not a gearhead, Nelly Gain. I'm not a gearhead. So cinematographers love to talk about gear and about what cameras will allow you to do what, and what cameras will give you enough quality of your image that it can be blown up to the size of a movie screen. I tend to take a lot of heart from what people tell me about these and the quality of images that you can get off of your phone cameras. The fact of the matter is, for my money, most movies are not watched on the big screen right now. They're watched on here, and they're watched on my laptop, and they're watched on a television screen on a good night. Yes, the Avenger films are on the big screen and you can go see them, but it's becoming more and more rare. And even when they do come out, they're only out for a very short period of time. In order to blow your image up to the size of a movie screen, the answer is yes. You've got to have higher quality equipment. And still in all, the best image for blowing up on a huge screen is actual film. And I'll get to that question in a minute. Although 4K digital is proving it's very good, and you'd have to be a trained eye to know that something was shot on 4K versus film. And I don't really have that trained eye. My opinion has always been grab the best thing you have available. When I made my web series, The Steps, I didn't have any money. And I was here in Chattanooga. I'd just gotten here. I did a couple plays, so I knew a couple of actors that I was going to put in this thing. And The Steps is a web series. You can look it up on YouTube, The Steps web series, all one word, The Steps web series. I did 2 seasons of it. The first season I did for absolutely no money, 0 budget. I starred in it. I wrote it. I directed it. I helped to edit it. I wrote the theme song with Tim Cofield, the cinematographer, who was not a cinematographer before I met him. He was a photographer. And I said, you've got a good eye. Here, hold this video camera. I'm going to walk across those train tracks. Just shoot me doing that. And that was the first shot of the show. And we just built it from there. We shot that thing on a video camera that he got out of a closet from a summer camp. That's what we had. I didn't have my video camera, my Panasonic video camera from when I was 15. That thing was long gone. I didn't have this either back in 2007. So I was like, how are we going to make this show? And Tim said, I can get this camera out of this closet. There's one at the summer camp. I said, okay, get it. And we're going to make it show now. So, so we did. Well, we shot 10 episodes on that camera. We shot 10 episodes on it. And actually, that's not true. We shot 3, and we used those 3 episodes to apply for a grant, and we got some money, and then we upgraded the camera for episodes 4 through 10. And I think you can see a little bit of a visual upgrade from episodes 1, 2, and 3 to episodes 4 through 10. Or am I making that up? Did we use the same camera for all 10 episodes? Well, anyway, for season 2, we definitely took a step up, and for that we used the whole first season to run a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter, and we got a budget and we upgraded our camera for season 2, and you can definitely see a difference in the first one. But you notice how when I started, I just grabbed what I could. If you grab what you can and make what you can to the best of your ability, sometimes that will act as the calling card to allow you to make the next thing for more, for better. Someone will say, "Hey, what did you shoot that on? Why are you shooting on that camera you found in the closet at the summer camp? I can get you this camera for only $50 a day," or somebody will loan you the, oh, well, hey, now people get generated, the excitement gets generated over people who are doing something rather than just talking about it. So when I had the episodes that I had, I'm like, look, I'm making this series. All of a sudden, I had people kind of around me going, how can I help? What do you need? Why are you doing that? Your sound is terrible. Don't you want better sound? My friend does sound, So that's a very long answer. I'm not doing well tonight. I don't think. I'm sort of going off a little bit too much. I love making movies. Can you tell? Pineapple. Tips for finding locations. How to contact. Okay, the first thing I want to say about locations is this. Pineapple coffee. Oh, look at all these beautiful comments. You guys are all being so nice to each other. Wherever you are is a great location for a movie. If you're in Los Angeles, great. You can definitely make a movie in all different parts of Los Angeles or New York, all different parts of New York, and they could be great locations. But I'm telling you right now, I don't know where all of you are from. I know some of you are not even here in America. So I think I've got a Brazil. I've got anyway. If you are in one of those places that is not Los Angeles or New York, there's a very good chance that the film going world has not seen a lot of where you are. And if you can put together a movie that centers around something locally, that centers around somewhere where you are, a place, a restaurant, a movie theater, an interesting gas station, you will already be halfway towards a compelling visual image in your opening shot, because people will say, where is that? There have been a lot of movies that have opened on the streets of Hollywood or all the various beaches up and down Southern California. A lot of different neighborhoods in New York have been the first shots of movies. They're familiar. They're amazing. They're great. You can't go wrong. But I'm telling you, if you are somewhere else from outside of there and you're thinking, I got to go to one of those centers of the entertainment industry to make movies, I would encourage you to make your movie first before you go to those places to sell them and get your career. Okay. Any film crews? Yes, there have been film crews that have used Chattanooga as a location, like Water for Elephants was shot here with Robert Pattinson. The Jackie Robinson story was shot here. They filled this local baseball stadium because this is where actually he played some of his baseball. And yes, Sophia's in Brazil. So, I mean, there's so much opportunity wherever you are to explore your geography of where you are. And if you're not there now, maybe someplace that you did grow up or you did spend time in your childhood, or that a family member lives and you're like, let me come and visit you and take a look around. I'm thinking of shooting a movie, and you live someplace interesting that I don't know if really people have seen. When I shot The Steps, I was just shooting Chattanooga, the skyline. There's an aquarium and there's a downtown, and I was shooting in alleyways and stuff because I was trying to make it mysterious. It was this film noir kind of a crime show. And when I brought that CD, because it was on DVD, when I brought it to Los Angeles to show my agents, they were like, "Where did you shoot this? Is that in Sherman Oaks? Where's that river?" I was like, "No, it's Chattanooga. That's where I've been living for the." They're like, "Oh, wow, that's." So I'm just telling you. And as far as securing locations, you've got to be comfortable approaching people. If you need a cafe or a restaurant, go talk to them. Say, "Hey, look, I want to make a movie in here. I'll start when you close, and I'll be out of here by the time you open. I can pay you this, or I can't pay you anything, but I'll give you a credit in the movie." I mean, a lot of times, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But you can say, "Hey, is there anything I can do to promote your restaurant in my film? In the credits, I can give you a credit in the movie, or be creative." Think about, when you need houses, living rooms, bathrooms, think about your house, think about friends' houses, think about people you know's houses, and just ask. Because a lot of times people are excited to help someone make a movie. Movies are this kind of exciting thing that most people think happens behind a screen somewhere. And sometimes when you bring it to them and like, "I want to make a movie in here. I need to shoot a scene between these 4 characters sitting around a diner table. Can I use your diner after you close at midnight and before you open at 6? Can I get in here for a couple hours with some lights and let me shoot?" A lot of times they'll say yes, because they'll be like, "Oh, wow, this is cool." I don't know if that helped you, Pineapple. Okay. What's the most difficult part of filmmaking? I will say that the same thing is the most difficult part of filmmaking. When do I think it's too late to start? And what movie genre do you think is the most difficult to work on? It's never too late to start. It's never too late to start. Akira Kurosawa, listen to me. Akira Kurosawa said, what did he say? He said something like, "I need to live a long time because when I get to be 85 or 90, maybe I can finally make something good." This is a man who's the master of the Japanese cinema. But he had this attitude of like, the older we get, the better we're going to get at this. And unfortunately, we're probably going to run out of time with our life before we're actually any good at filmmaking. Don't you love that? So never quit. Never quit. Richard Farnsworth won an Oscar for Best Actor when he was 80 after a lifetime of pounding the pavement, right? He was in that David Lynch movie. I don't know how old he was, but he won the Oscar, and then he passed away shortly thereafter. Betty White spent her whole life acting little parts here or there. Finally, landed the part of a lifetime on what? Someone help me out. Is it Golden Girls? Golden Girls. That movie, that show made her rich and made her a household name. She has such a great attitude about it. She's like, it took me my whole life to get the part that I was after. Never quit. It doesn't matter. Age is a number, and ageism is a terrible, terrible feature of this country and of the world in general. Whatever age you are, I want to see what you make. Most difficult part of filmmaking is knowing what to film. It's the same as what's the most difficult part of writing? It's knowing what to write. Once I know what to write, I can write. Once I know what to film, I can film. Once I know what it is that I want to put on the camera and cut and put score to and then put up on YouTube and show you guys, I can do it. But until then, it's very hard. Good, Charlotte. I'm glad it was. I would say, Capri Sun, if you're making a movie with me in it right now, then you'd better be talking to SAG-AFTRA, because I'm a SAG-AFTRA actor, and they will come after you if I'm not properly compensated for my appearance in your feature film, which I'm sure is going to be a giant global hit. Film are all digital, dude. Mostly it's digital. It's mostly being shot on digital. Here's why. It's so much easier to handle. After you shoot a whole 2 hours in digital on a camera, you pull out this little thing out of the camera and it's all in there. And then some tech takes that and sticks it in their laptop, and they download it all into their laptop, and then they download it into some memory towers, and they back it up 3 or 4 times, and then they can start cutting it. The editor can be on set literally cutting the scene together while you're shooting it. That's what's been happening to me the last few movies I've made. They're making the movie on set. We've gone past where at the end of the day there's all these cartons of film and this all has to be taken to the lab, and they process the film at the lab, and then 2 days later we watch the film on dailies on a screen, and then the editor finally gets his hands and he can start to. No, it's right there. I can start cutting the movie, and while I'm cutting the movie, while they're shooting the scene, I can say, hey, director, we didn't get that close-up of her. You're going to need to go back and get that because the close-up that you got is over his shoulder and it doesn't fit. So I need you to go back in there and get the one, please, for the cut. And the director will say, oh yeah, great. Sorry. Can we have everyone go back? And we're going to, they're fixing problems with the cut and with the thing in the moment because it's digital. There are some diehard film users out there. Christopher Nolan is famous for saying he will never, ever, ever, ever make a movie on digital. He will not. He shoots his movies on 35 millimeter. I think Tenet was shot on 35 or 70. He shot his movie. I think he shot Intergalactic. That's the wrong title. His big Matthew McConaughey space time epic. That was shot on 70 millimeter. Okay. So Interstellar. Thank you, Nikita. Thank you. Yes. That was shot, I think, on 70 millimeter film. He will not. One of my friends and colleagues, Christopher McQuarrie, also insists on film. He does not shoot on digital, no matter how many directors of photography have said, hey, we can go digital and it'll make so much easier to shoot this Mission Impossible stuff. And he's like, I don't care. I'm shooting on film. And Kodak, those directors are heroes because they're keeping film alive, but it's tough and it's getting more expensive. And I think it's getting harder and harder to fight that battle. My favorite film that I've made that I'm the most proud of. Oh, well, I will go ahead and say Dead Poet Society. Why wouldn't I say that? I'm very proud of that. And why? Because it's been seen by the most people. It's had an influence. It's had an impact. It's become part of the cultural zeitgeist. It's become, part of the cinematic lexicon. I mean, kind of came at a point in my life where it was this magical moment, and it's never really left me. And I still get recognized from it from time to time, 32 years later. Making the movie was this super magical experience. Oh, thank you. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Cameron's as well. Yeah, it is crazy the power it has on teens. I have kids, young kids, man. I mean, who weren't so much as a glimmer in their parents' eyes when it came out, who it really touches them and moves them. And that just means a lot to me. Thank you, Charlotte. I'm proud of the work that I did. I made everyone hate me. After the movie came out, the poets and I were in New York City once, and while it was out, we snuck into the back of a movie theater, and a New York audience watching Dead Poet Society was really fun. They were really vocal and they were really loud. And you just talk about why is it my favorite? Because I just had some of these experiences at screenings. I sat through a screening at the Venice Film Festival in Italy, and the movie got a standing ovation, and everyone turned and gave us a standing ovation. It was this electric moment. But the New York screening, we all snuck in, all 7 of us, because we'd just done Phil Donahue that day. We all went on the Phil Donahue show, and we snuck in the back of the theater, and we were sitting in the back, and we're watching the movie, and the New Yorkers are just eating popcorn and talking. And the end comes when I finked on everybody, and Charlie says, and I said, let Keating fry, and Charlie decks me, and I swear to you, this audience gave out a Bronx cheer. They were so stoked that I'd just gotten decked in the face. And I was just sitting there gripping my chair, just going, should we leave now? Because I'm worried that these people are going to kill me if they actually. And I'll never forget that. I will never, ever forget that. So yeah, that changed my life. It changed my life. All right, that's enough of that. What about my 15-year-old attitude towards filmmaking? What advice would I think filmmakers should have now or have later? Just the fearlessness, not being afraid to fail. Our fear of failure is bred into us as we get older. We are taught we internalize this idea that we're supposed to be perfect and good at everything, and then if we're not good at it, why are we doing it? The answer why we're doing it is because it brings us joy and it makes us feel like life's worth living, and we do it because not not worried about whether other people deem it as a failure or not. I'm reading this biography on Lorraine Hansberry right now. She wrote A Raisin in the Sun. She also wrote a lot of other things, a lot of which didn't work out. They didn't get produced, they didn't get made, they weren't hits. A lot of writing that wasn't accepted, that wasn't published. She was a brilliant, brilliant writer. A lot of her work would have been deemed a failure. Same goes for Zora Neale Hurston, a biography of whom I just recently read. So much of her work went unpublished, unappreciated, not good enough. I don't really care. A modern retelling of the Moses story? Who cares? Write me another Their Eyes Were Watching God. Can you imagine what it would have been like, her or Lorraine Hansberry, these brilliant, genius creators who had most of their work dismissed? Don't worry about failure. Do it because you love to do it, because you need to do it, because it's worth your time, and because you want to try. And I give you permission to not be good at it at the start. You will learn. Your movies will get better as you go. That's the thing that I had as a 15-year-old. I didn't care whether I failed or not. I was making movies for you, Allegra, and for mom and dad. That's how I got started, you know? Vandomity angle talk, do you need to be successful? I'm going to say limited amount. You'll figure it out as you start shooting things and you stand up here and you say, okay, you two, you're fighting over the pizza. And you're looking at the camera like, ugh, it doesn't really, I think if I come in. Now, that said, there's plenty of things to be learned by watching movies that you love. Pick 3 movies that you absolutely love and watch them and sort of get an idea of, oh, okay, so they did a bigger shot of all 5 of them standing there fighting over the pizza. And then they came in and they did those 2 and those 2. And then they did close-ups on those 5 people. And then they cut those other things. Oh, okay. So when I go to make my scene or my movie, I'm going to get all of them and then tighter and then tighter. Right. And ideally, unless you're shooting it yourself, which you might be, but if you're not, if your friend who's a really good photographer and you're like, will you please come and shoot my movie for me? They'll have ideas and say, we have to get this shot from down below looking up at his face from the ground. And you'll go, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I get it. So you'll start experimenting and finding ways that learning the terminology for all that stuff and script writing, not necessarily, but it can be gleaned from reading other scripts, writing your own scripts, and making your own films. Oh, the most gratifying from Barbara part of filmmaking. I gotta say, I love the editing process. When I've been the director of my web series, when I directed a movie called Wrestling Jerusalem, that you can see a trailer for. Being in the editing room is fun because I like seeing all my footage and getting to piece it together. Favorite movies of all time. Well, again, this is my favorite. These are not necessarily movies that I think are the best movies of all time, but some of my favorite movies of all time. The Blues Brothers. The Blues Brothers is good. The Black Stallion is my number 1 favorite film of all time. E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Mudbound's good. You seen Mudbound? Phil, I know we talked about it. Have you seen it yet? That's good. Maybe it's broken into my top 10 favorites of all time. Nervous when I'm filming. How do I stay calm? Again, I think it's a let go of the notions that it has to be right or that it's going to be successful, and just do your best. You're just there to try. It's all an experiment. Process is the journey is the destination, right? The process. You never lose. You know, we never lose, Angie. We never lose. We win or we learn. That's it. That's what Nelson Mandela said. We never lose. We win or we learn. So don't be scared. Okay? Especially when you're shooting digital, it's just a bunch of ones and zeros on a memory chip. You know when it gets really scary? When you feel that film going through the camera and you're like, oh, that's money going through the camera. That can be a little freaky. I will tell one other Dead Poets story. You know when Neil is standing in the window and he puts the crown on his head and it's all in super slow motion. He puts it on and then he puts his hands down and then he looks down like that and it takes forever. It takes like 10 minutes for him to do it. That was shot in super slow motion, which means that they were running the film to the camera at an extremely high rate of speed while he did it. He will tell you that when they shot that scene, this is how he performed that action. That's what he did. That's literally what he did. He just went. And he said that the lead up to action from Peter Weir was they went, okay, roll camera. And the camera went. The film was just flying through the camera at this extraordinary rate of speed. And Bobby said, he said, that was a little nerve-wracking because I just knew we were going through an entire reel to get this shot of, I didn't want to do it wrong, but there was no doing it wrong when you're just like this and like this. But when you watch the movie, there's music and it's all, oh, anyway, that can be nerve-wracking. Otherwise, don't be scared. Inspiration for story, Colonel Toad. I'm getting towards the end of my hour, everybody, and I'm almost done with questions. I'm sorry if you asked any more along the chat and I have missed them. I'm really sorry. My major at Cal was U.S. history. U.S. history. Yep. I wrote my thesis on J. Edgar Hoover and COINTELPRO. Okay. Inspiration for story. When I have my 7th and 8th graders who speak English as a second language, and I'm trying to teach them drama and playwriting and stuff, and they're like, "What are we supposed to write a play about?" I always tell them, start an inciting incident could be something that confused you. It's a moment in your life you don't understand. Think about it. Probably been a couple. Somebody did something. Somebody said something. Something happened that you didn't get. That can be the great start for a movie. And sometimes that can be the kernel. Dreams, always possible. If you can remember them, sometimes those are great. And you can wake up, and if you can get to a pad of paper and you can write it down, those can be great. My big ideas have come through reading. I read books of history. I just mentioned I'm a big U.S. history fan. I'm a big history fan in general. I love ancient history. I love Thucydides. I love Homer. I love all that stuff. When I read that stuff, I just read this biography. Here's an idea I just had recently. I was reading this biography of Zora Neale Hurston. And Zora Neale Hurston, late in her life, was really down on her luck, and no one would publish her work, even though she was one of the preeminent American authors of the 20th century. And she moved to this little town, and a paper in Pittsburgh asked her if she would be the journalist who would cover the murder trial of Ruby McCollum, who was a woman who murdered her lover and was going on trial for murder. And Zora Neale Hurston decided, Okay, I'll take that job. And she went to death row and met Ruby McCollum. And Zora Neale Hurston and Ruby McCollum started to talk. And when I read that, I'm reading along and I was like, that's a movie. That's a great movie. That's a play. That the preeminent American author down on her luck meets the woman on death row who's about to go to the electric chair for having murdered her. Why did she do it? What happened? That is Capote. Read read the paper, read magazines, read books, a character, a situation. You'll be like, that reminds me of this thing that happened to me that I've always wanted to make a movie about. Oh, you know what I could make a movie about is about the Equal Rights Amendment. Oh, you know what I can make a movie is about. Read. The answers a lot of times, if you're stuck or you don't know what to write about, are in reading other people's stories and other people's work. Is it harder now than it was back when I started? Fandomity, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I'm 50. Everything you're hearing from me is old. Talking from an old man. So there are differences today than there are back then, and I probably don't know what they all are. So take everything I've told you with a grain of salt. I don't think it's harder now. Walt Whitman said, there's never been more love or more hate or more anger or more joy than there is right now. There never will be, and there never has been. We are in the same moment at all times in terms of the amount of creative juice in the world and the ability to rise above and get your work seen and become successful at this or have a successful project. You can do it today the same way you could do it then, and the same way you will be able to do it in 50 years. You've got to start, and you can't use whatever's going on now in the world as an excuse for why you shouldn't work. Georgie, editing software. Are you still with me, Georgie? I just edit everything on iMovie. I'm so sorry. But, if you want to really be a pro editor, you'll talk to real pro editors. They will. I just do it on iMovie, guys. When I'm making my own stuff, I just do it on iMovie. There's probably a lot of software out there that you can download. Grace, how do you have confidence in front of the camera? Again, I'm just going to sort of move through that and say, don't be afraid to fail, and how to get past the fear of judgment. Just remember that a lot of the people who are judging you, who are saying, that's not very good, you can't really act. Why are you trying to write songs now? Good luck with. They are people, most of them, a lot of them, who were too scared to follow their own artistic paths and their own dreams. Fear is so powerful. Fear of failure, fear of judgment. Lots of people put their artistic dreams on hold. They really do. And that's okay, because you know what? We need physicists. We need doctors. We need people to pave streets. We do. So that's okay. But I just want you to know that sometimes when you just recognize that sometimes when you're getting negative feedback from people who are telling you, no, you can't stop, why bother? Just know that at the heart of that sometimes is their own frustrations, fears, repressed desires, repressed creativity that they put to bed because there wasn't room in their lives for it. And just say, thanks for your opinion. I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. I appreciate you taking the time to give me feedback. Thank you. Even if it's not constructive feedback, because personally, I'm a big fan of constructive feedback. And only when it matters. Once the movie's up on the screen and it's out, it doesn't do a whole lot of good to come up and tell me, hey, you know what you should have done? It's too late. At that point, just come up and say, great job. Loved it. But some people can't do that. Some people don't. They're not in the headspace to do that. What I'm careful to do with my dear friends is when I really want to know what they think, I will go up to them after the play is over. I walk out into the lobby and I'll say, everyone will say, hey, great job. I'll say, okay, great. And the next day I'll call them and be like, what'd you think? No, seriously, did you like that moment when I did it that way? No. Okay, why not? Why doesn't that work? Oh, I know, you're right, because I'm not staged in the right way there, and I'm not really being loud enough. Okay, great. I want to hear what's wrong, and I want to learn. Sometimes you have to approach specific people who you trust and you know who have your best interest in mind to get honest feedback on your work, and you have to ask for it specifically. If it comes to you unsolicited and it's negative, water off the duck's back. Might not be about you. They might have had a bad day. Their aunt might be in the hospital. You know what I mean? You don't know where people are always coming from with negative stuff. Say thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. And be done with it. Okay? Hey, Phil, I enjoyed these chats too. Maybe I'll do some more next month. If you want to know anything about, I'm starting a class. I gotta go. I know I'm taking up too much of your time. I'm starting a class called the School for Wide Creatives, and I'm trying to get just a few people together in a Zoom room in August where we can feed off of each other's energies, feed off each other's work. Directors, I want some songwriters, I want some screenwriters, I want some actors. I want to get us together. I already have about half the spots filled, I believe, at the moment. I always give a first class free audit. If you want to come in, go to that website page that I just put, dylankussman.com/class, and check it out. And if you're interested, it'll take you to a form to fill out to say, to let me know who you are. I'm really excited about this idea. I think that we could have a lot to learn from each other. I've learned so much from these different parts of my creative output. They've all informed one another, and I'm wondering what it would look like in a room full of people. And as I said, the first class, people who might be interested are welcome to audit the first class. So that's going to start in August, the first weekend of August. I'm going to do them Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go check it out. See if it looks like something you're interested in. And if so, fill out a form for me. Otherwise, maybe I could do another round of these. I don't know if I'll do it next month, but maybe in a month I'll try and do another series of Wednesdays. I'll just go back to the beginning and we'll do acting again, because it's been really fun. And you've all made me think critically about what I do and why I do what I do and what it means to do this. Why do we do this? I do it because it gives me life. And I'm so grateful that you've come and participated in this with me. And it's been really weird to listen to myself talk for an hour straight like this. I prefer interaction. Thank you very much for coming, all of you. All right. Bye for now.